Sabres Live is presented by Seneca Resorts and Casinos. Nothing else comes close.
We are going to overtime!
Marty, this is the worth the wait episode of Sabres Live Overtime, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. Well, first, we had to wait for the celebration to end so we can get a few Bandits player before their pep rally and everything that's going to happen downtown Buffalo. So I feel like giving them a week or so to recover from all the post-celebration festivities is the right time to get a few Bandits player on the podcast this week.
Can't wait to talk with them. And when you're serious about the game, bet on Buffalo with the only sports books in Western New York. Seneca Resorts and Casinos betting counters are open daily. Self-service betting kiosks are available 24/7 at all three locations. Whether you visit Seneca, Niagara, Allegheny, or Buffalo Creek, the Sports Lounge features the latest lines and multiple screens so you never miss a play. The sports book at Seneca Resorts and Casinos, where the love of the game meets the thrill of the win. What a treat and what a journey it has been to get to 5 titles in Bandits championship history. And we've got 3 members of the current world champs with us here on Sabres Live Overtime. Chris Cloutier, Ian MacKay, Kyle Buchanan. Gents, congratulations on this incredible journey you took us on this season. We want to talk lacrosse, but quite frankly, I'd rather talk about the celebration that happened after lacrosse. So, I don't want to say defer to the elders, but Kyle, we're going to start with you on this. I mean, this had to be incredibly worth the wait, no?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, doing it with this group in Buffalo, it's my first in, 11 years in the league, and, no better feeling and no better place to do it. I mean, I just watched a video the other day of the celebration and the guys on the bench as the seconds tick down, and it was just kind of mayhem, chaos, guys grabbing each other, hugging, all the support staff there as well. It was unbelievable.
Ian, I'll ask you that one. So when the Vegas Golden Knights won last night, as we record this, Phil Kessel said his goal was not to throw up in the celebration and in the party that ensued. Who was I don't want to say sickest, but who went as far as possible in the limits of staying healthy after the celebration?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can answer because I don't really remember the later part of the night. So it might have been me, but it was all fun. All the guys were together, obviously in the locker room, champagne and beers in there, and then taking a trophy out on the town. So it was a fun night for sure.
Hey guys, feel free to piggyback off each other's answers here because it's a free-flowing conversation. Chris, Ian just mentioned the champagne and that. I was actually going to ask, what is the lingering taste from that evening? Is it beer or is it champagne or something else?
I'd probably say it's honestly beer. Seems like also doesn't help that the celebrations might have went for a little bit longer than they maybe should have. I think I stopped on Friday. So
well, it's funny. I went and got my gear the other day from the locker room finally, like on Wednesday last week, and I was packing it up, and I came home and I opened it up, and it was just a huge smell of champagne and sweat. So it's definitely lingering around, that's for sure.
So for the record, the game was on a Saturday night. So Chris, when you talk about ending on a Friday, that's 5.5 days later. That's how long the celebration was in your own bubble.
Yeah, just a healthy shift for the week. Well, it honestly wasn't my fault. It seemed like everywhere I went, just people wanted to celebrate. So I'm not a man to say no very, very many times. So
how many
it's an
different
inside joke about my rubber arm that I have, but
how many different cities did you celebrate in?
Just Buffalo and Kitchener, I believe.
Yeah, that's a lie. I was about to say I threw a party on Sunday with all family and friends around here, and then like they were saying, every day someone wanted to celebrate or have one beer, but one turned into six in a hurry, and then we were back celebrating again. And then I saw Cloutier this week. We had golfed on Monday together up in Kitchener, so we got to celebrate a little bit there. So it's been all over Ontario and New York, it seems like.
How many people would you guess drank from the trophy? Like you guys seem to be passing it around to thousands and thousands of people. Like would it be like 10,000 people drank from the trophy? A good estimate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're far off there. I ended up with the trophy Sunday night after we took it out for the day, and I woke up and looked at it and gave it a quick polish. It was it was see some fingerprints and some mouse and different drinks poured on it. So I think Ethan O'Connor had it the next day, and he said the same thing. He cleaned it up pretty well. So it's definitely made its rounds for sure.
What is your first memory of the celebration on the floor? I mean, you've referenced like the mayhem on the bench, but individually, and Kyle, we can start with you. Like, what do you remember first? And it was a strange game in the sense that this was not your typical National Lacrosse League game. This was well in hand for a while.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still don't think I really thought about it, because we know how, this game is so much momentum, and we know that they were a team that never gives up and kind of can keep coming, kind of come in waves too. So I think probably with about 3-4 minutes left, I started really thinking about it, and thinking about people that were in the stands with me and thinking about what was going on. So after the chaos on the floor, it was nice to see a couple of guys lift the trophy. I was thinking about that. And then one of my first thoughts was, where my kids were, where my dad was in the stands, and trying to get them on the floor with me as soon as possible. So the rest of it before that was kind of a bit of a blur, to be honest. You're hugging every single guy. You're just thinking about the dressing room and the beer and champagne, and then, thinking about your family. So, so many different thoughts, but it was crazy.
Ian?
I wonder too, like Kyle, you talk about kids and family, and we got a great look at sometimes after celebrating, the filter kind of goes away. Hoka had that during his interview, and it dropping F-bombs, and look, I love it, but like, how careful did you guys have to be when you have kids and parents and family members around the locker room to kind of careful in the language? Because lacrosse locker room is like, I experience hockey locker room, the language flows, right? And was there a sense of we need to hold it back, or did everything just unleashed?
I think you kind of get the green light when you get the championship. Didn't really matter, kind of get forgotten in the mix. So not too many guys were holding back, that's for sure. Probably some words that don't want to be repeated, and some things that were said and done. But no, it was a blast, and I think you kind of get a little bit of a longer leash when those situations happen.
Ian, you had the ball last, and I was actually so excited to see that when I had arrived before the game, and the party in the plaza was going on, and we were here at draft room down below. I'm assuming it was a large contingent of your family that had the MacKay hats that walked past me. So I was really excited to see that incredibly large group. And then, can you take us through what the final 10 seconds, 15 seconds felt like when you were standing there waiting for time to expire?
Yeah. I was, I'll give my girlfriend all the credit on that. She, there was the MacKay hats and the Hasbulla hats. So it was my birthday on the Wednesday, May 31st, leading up to the game. So it was kind of their surprise that her entire family and my family, they got all those custom hats made and wore them to the game. And apparently they're a pretty big hit. Everyone was asking where they got them. So it's cool to see and obviously have all that support. But I don't know if you can see it. I haven't watched the game back yet, but I mean, I knew that we were going to win, obviously, but until the final buzzer went, or maybe like the last 10 seconds, like you said, it didn't really sink in. Like, Priolo's right there near me, Weiser's right there. I think I even pushed Weiser away, expecting Colorado to come pressure a little bit. And then when they didn't come pressure, that's kind of when it sank in. And, I just threw my hands in the air, started jumping up and down. And once the buzzer went, I ran into Vino into the pile there. And I had the ball, and I tried to keep it my stick, because I know that's probably something that the team wanted, but I think it rolled out or someone took it out. So I don't know where that went, but it was just obviously pure excitement and just trying to get together with the guys and celebrate and just take it all in.
Chris, what about the actual finals itself? Win game 1, go to Colorado, lose game 2. You got to come back. The pressure of being at home, a lot of people say, sometimes with a game 7 or a game 3 or an ultimate game like this, you want it at home. You want it in front of your fans. Did you feel like that was an advantage, especially at the start of the game, having Bandit Land, everybody going crazy at KeyBank Center?
Yeah, I think playing in Bandit Land is always an advantage, just with how great and supportive our fans are, and definitely plays a factor into who's playing and other teams coming to play against us. That's tough to play against. I know that firsthand from my short days in Philly, but no, I think there's not. I think it's a little bit scary. I think a lot of us had talked about it in Denver because we were here last year and it had seemed like we were kind of going it was playing. It had seemed like it was kind of playing out the same exact way as it did the year before. Win a close one, game 1, go to Denver, basically lay an egg, and then it's anyone's game in game 3. But I'd say the difference was after that game, it wasn't everyone just sulking. It was everyone talking about, okay, so what do we need to do next? What do we need to do to win game 3? And you could tell the attitudes were different even on game day. Everyone was just dialed and knew what they had to do, not taking anything for granted, not thinking, okay, we got game 3, we're just going to win because we're in Bandit Land. Everyone knew their job and their role, and everyone was dialed in coming together and getting it done this year. And I think you could feel that throughout the whole championship series.
Did anything change tactically that you can recall specifically year over year, from game 3 a year ago to game 3 in this one, Kyle, that may have in fact impacted dramatically how this all played out?
I think last year we were such a high-powered, offense, and our defense made timely saves and shut it down all year. And then we got to the playoffs, and I think last year in Game 3 we just thought, we'll just be ourselves, and we'll just buzz around and do these different things, and we're going to get our stops, we're going to get our goals. And I think we almost expected it to happen. I think the difference this year was, to Cloutier's point, I've never seen probably a more focused group and a more purpose-driven group than we were in Game 3. Discipline was a big factor for us. Obviously, we went to the box a lot in game 2. But again, I talked about it with you guys before. I don't think it was necessarily discipline, just not taking penalties, right? We were taking punches to the head. We were picking up loose balls in front of the net. We were breaking out in pairs, just hitting all of our strategy points all over the floor. And I don't know, even though we beat some teams by more in playoffs, I thought game 3 was probably the best executed game we'd played all year, and obviously at the best time and biggest time.
I want to go back to the celebrations because one guy that has had the chance to celebrate in Bandit Lands before as a player is John Tavares, now as a coach, right? And the relationship between player and coach sometimes is different. You don't want to be partying together, but you want to respect one another, and then all of a sudden you win. How was JT in the celebrations? Was he the one leading the way? Was he quiet, standing back? Was he dancing away? What was JT and from a player's perspective in the celebration?
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to celebrate, especially a big one like that. I know lacrosse is, I think, a little different than other sports where it's a lot closer community, and you only get together once a week throughout the season. So no matter where we are on the road or at home, usually guys, go have a beer or two, and it's not uncommon to see the coaches out or JT or whoever may be out as well. So we've seen him in those situations before, but not I don't think to that extent. I don't know how quick his suit came off, but it was off, and when he came to give us the last speech there and with the trophy after the game, and we made our way over to Cobblestone there for a bit after the game, and I know he's a household name there from his playing days. So but from there I don't remember seeing him, but I'm sure he had. I'm sure he had a great night though.
He was the first
think,
one. He was the first one I saw at Cobblestone, and then I apologize. I didn't get to catch up with all of you guys, but you made quite an entrance at Cobblestone. It was an awful lot of fun. Oh my gosh. Oh.
I think the other thing that kind of slips the mind too is that JT actually played with and against a bunch of the guys on our team, and has lost with a bunch of the guys. So it does make it a little bit different of a situation than your typical coach to player relationship.
I can just see JT
Yeah.
the way that he throws the challenge flag on the field is like coming in the room, ripping the tie, throwing that thing away, jacket's gone, like 3 buttons open. Like I can just see the picture that you're portraying for me right now, and I love every second of it.
Kyle, because you've been around it the longest in this league, like what did you know of JT beforehand as either player or coach, and what have you seen from him being here? How many years now? 3 with Bandits?
3, one COVID year, but yeah, technically 3.
Yeah.
I mean, JT, I used to go to camps that he would run as a kid, growing up, and I obviously knew he's one of the best players. And I think in lacrosse, to be one of the best players, you got to have one of the best minds. Especially offensively, you got to understand the game and understand what defenses and goalies are trying to do. So that was something that I thought was a given. I always tell the story. The first time I ever played against JT was in the summertime, and I got caught back on defense and covering him. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. So sure enough, doesn't he slash my stick out of my hands, and I go to pick it up and he stands on top of it and calls for the ball. It was a funny little play, but I thought to myself, like, what a high IQ, just small little play. And then kind of that was my first take of JT as a player. But the more I got to work with him as my coach, you just get to see the wheels are always turning. He's always trying to, change an approach or maybe make it successful in the offensive end. So, and he's not far removed, like the boys were saying, as a player. So it's definitely a different relationship. And, it's cool to see him get one as a coach.
I want to know about Matt Vince, because he has been just lights out. 8 times he was named goaltender of the year in National Lacrosse League. When you guys practice and you're kind of snake bitten a little bit and you can't score, do you stay away from Matt Vince? Do you go down the other end? Because that was my role as a goalie. Like I was the backup, and they were like, hey, if you can't score on Lundqvist at the one end, go to Marty's end. You'll score plenty of goals over there. And all the guys that were struggling would come down to my end. Like, is that the same scenario in practice with Matt Vince? Like, you can't beat him in practice, can't beat him in games, so you go down to the other end? Chris, I'll ask you first because you seem like you want to jump in there.
I personally love having Vino in practice because he's going to give you the best look you can possibly get. But yeah, if it's the day of the game and we're in shoot arounds, like I'm probably going to be down in the other end, getting my confidence up before the game. Not to say anything bad about Shanny, but just Vino is a different creature.
One word.
We have, Vino and I have a pretty cool relationship. I don't think many people know, but his rookie year in San Jose, he was playing with my uncle. So when I came to Buffalo, obviously my rookie year was his first year here. So kind of full circle, and we were able to bond over that pretty well. And, every time we're in our warm-up drills in practice, if I'm lucky to sneak one in, if I'm lucky to sneak one in, it's not often, but every time he saves one, he's always staring at me and he always says yes, just to make sure he knows that he made the save on me. So to Cloutier's point, I'm trying to find either an empty net or a third goalie to go shoot on for my confidence.
One word to describe Vino's performance in the clincher.
I mean, outstanding.
I was just gonna say GOAT.
Yeah.
I think he's so committed to his game in so many different levels. Like, that's one thing about practice. Like, you don't want to take it easy on him because you want him to feel a little bit, but at the same time, he's still asking guys, how is he getting better? What can you see from this angle? How long he's done it and how many times he's been the best. Still trying to get better every day, and he's still having a great time in the dressing room. But that performance just showed why he is who he is.
I'm going to cheat a little bit and say 2 words, not surprised, just because
he's been that way all year, and it does help a lot on the offensive end, knowing that you got a brick wall in the defensive end, so you can take your shots and not get too stressed about if they're going in or not, because it's going to be held down on the back end.
You're definitely not cheating. Every single week we do One Word Tuesday on Sabres Live. I never stick to one word. I always hyphenate words, combine words. Phrases are accepted now. So that's not a problem. Ian, quickly, I wanted to ask you because, obviously guys play hurt and there's tough injuries in lacrosse. It's a tough game. And Josh came back for game 3. And for me, like, one of the big moments of the game was the goal at the end of the first quarter when nobody's really knowing what's going on. He gets the ball way up and lets it go, and it goes in with like 0.2, right? And it makes you guys go up 2-1. What about Josh's performance and that moment in the game, like switching and giving you guys that jump forward?
Yeah, it was, obviously after game 2 and not finishing off the series, it was a pretty quick turnaround. I think we were home Tuesday, and then back with the guys Friday. And, we didn't really know right up until, Saturday morning whether he's going to be go or not. And, once you got the word that he was, it was kind of not necessarily a sigh of relief because, we've dealt with the adversities all year with injuries and stuff, but he's such a dynamic player and a game-changing player. And I mean, you see it when he's flying through the air, scoring all those crazy goals. And to your point, that last goal there at the end of I think it was the first quarter, he said it was, I think it was kind of one of those things where it went in and that was maybe the first moment where you thought, okay, it's going to be one of these nights. You know what I mean? Where it's a kind of a ricocheted shot that goes in. Usually D-Ward's making that save, 9 times out of 10. And we got that one and probably in the most important game. So, just to see him healthy and back out on the floor. I mean, if you ask him, he'll probably tell you there was no doubt he was playing in game 3, but just to have him out there and how good he is, it's obviously, it helped us out for sure.
Was there a goal for each of you in that game that made you realize, okay, now we've got it? Was there that one? What's that?
Are you setting up for this one?
Yes. Now, I want to know, because he never gets any attention. Tell us about Max Adler and what you guys felt in that moment when he scored that goal.
Yeah, Max is a beauty. I've had the pleasure of playing with him since my first year professionally for the Denver Outlaws back in the MLL. We won a championship together there as well. But he is actually, I tell people all the time, he is the nicest, hardest working guy you'll ever meet. Like, he would stay at my house and he'd offer to buy every single meal I had, like offer to pay me money. And I'm like, no, don't. But like he won't take no for an answer. And then when he's not working his like high intensity job with ESPN that like takes a toll on him, like he's working all the time with that. He's finding a field somewhere. Like I said, in training camp, he was staying at my house for a bit. He'd log off at like 7:30 at night. He'd be like, hey, is there a field around here? And like, what do you need a field for? He's like, I got to go take face-offs. And he's just going to go face off against no one on a field. And just like, he'll take face-offs at the 50-yard line and go on breakaways with no one in net. And just like, that's how much he works. And that's how hard he works. And he loves it.
Seeing ads, high step around the corner after he scored. And he was telling me all morning he was going to throw a leaner. If he gets a chance, he's going to throw a leaner. And he comes by the bench and he's high stepping and he's like, see, I've been working on it. So, those 2 goals probably stick out to me as well.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, for me, obviously the Max goal it's all time. And I think that's maybe another moment in the game where you're able to take another bit of a deep breath and realize, this is really going our way. And, the writing starting to show on the wall there. And, I mean, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. I think Spanger's goal in transition right after Wardle scored.
Nice pass. That was a nice pass.
That's where I like to pat myself on the back. But in terms of momentum, right? Like, fourth quarter, it's still, anything can happen and they get a goal that, is kind of a controversial goal, goes to review. And, we come out the next face off and Spanger puts one away for us and stops our momentum right away. It just goes to show again, it was just, kind of everything was going our way that night. And, so those two probably stand out most for me.
Now, I hate to ask this question, but that's where my mind always goes. I'm a what's next kind of guy, right? Okay, that just finished. What's next? Like, how do you guys look at the summer preparation? Like, what's next for the team, for each individually? Like, how do you prepare for coming back after a championship? Chris, we'll start with you.
Yeah. That's always the way like any good athlete should think is what's next. Like, and you got to take some time and enjoy it. And we are tomorrow, or when this airs tonight, but we're going to have that time together as a team, but everyone on the team now has the taste of it. And, there's nothing more motivating than chasing that taste again. We got the guys that can do it. Clearly we've been there, and we got a big good core of us coming back, so it's just making sure everyone's doing what they can individually over the summer to stay in shape and stay healthy. I know for me personally, I could still lose 20 to 30 pounds and be a much different player, so that's definitely going to be a big goal of mine in the summer. And hopefully I come back and people can't tell the difference between 2 and 22.
I love it. You prefaced it though, so let's follow it up. Kyle, Ian, what should we expect?
Yeah,
the celebration in the plaza on Thursday night, and the walk up Washington Street to the ballpark, and then what's going to happen at the ballpark? Like, Marty and I have visions of an OV summer with the cup here. So like, I don't know, are you going to find some fountains, some places to, go crazy, or what?
Daner left right after the championship, basically, to go on vacation. So he might be back in fine form. So that might be summer of Dane. I don't know here, but maybe Mickey, a little bit more being in the city, but I'm not sure what to expect tomorrow. Obviously it's been a long time since the Bandits have won, and I'm expecting a good crowd at the rally. Then we get to make our way to the field, and, Daner's going to throw the first pitch, probably a ball, but we'll have some bets on that. But I'm excited. I'm sure some boys will be in fine form. I think just get excited to get back together, and because you have that celebration that night, then you kind of go your separate ways for a little bit. So it's going to be exciting to kind of get a little bit of closure and bring it all together again.
If we had to do the running of the bases at the Bisons, who would be the fastest base runner? Like, go around all, like, touch them all and come home. Who would be the fastest?
Probably say Bucky.
No, I don't know. I was going to say Mickey. or.
I'll say Cloutier then.
It's friendly show, friendly family show. Everybody gets a trophy here. I love it.
Now, I don't know for sure. This is all hearsay, but I'll phrase it this way. Where did you have more fun after the game? Cobblestone, 500 Pearl, or Rec Room?
You're trying to get us in trouble.
Or a place unknown, because there may be many places unknown. Yes, absolutely.
Or where did you have breakfast?
You go ahead, Coach.
Right after the game, I mean, Cobblestones is always fun. They take care of us there, but Rec Room's kind of where everyone gets in their fullest form, and things kind of get a little bit unleashed. So I can never complain about Rec Room.
I love it. Whose idea was it to cut the mesh and then wear that around with your victory caps, which was a really good look, I thought?
I think Mickey might have started that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of become a tradition in sports. You see a lot of teams, basketball does it. At hockey, I don't know if hockey does or not, but I know in lacrosse it's kind of a thing with NCAA. We did it in the PLL a couple of years ago. So right after we took the picture, I found our trainer, Nikki, and grabbed her scissors, and I think I was the first one over there. And just kind of another cool little piece of memorabilia to keep and to remember and cherish that night.
Who stayed the longest in their gear? Who was the longest wearing their full gear after? Like, who was like, hey, let's go, like, we gotta go, like, you're sillinging around here? Who was the guilty party in that one?
I don't know. I think Dane might have proposed in his. I'm not sure.
I think Weiser and Chase spent quite a bit of time in their gear. They were in it for a while. I think I was out of the shower in my suit, and they were still dancing around, having a cigar. And I'm usually one that's kind of quick out of there because I like to get to the party and celebrate a little bit. But I was enjoying this a little more in the room with the guys.
How many fellow teammates got engaged? Is it just 2? Or is it, how many?
Too many.
Too many, Cliff said.
Well, I think we had 3 on the year this year. Josh, Dane did it in Greece there, and then Weiser just did it as well. So
right. All
you
right.
get a ring, you get a ring, everyone gets a ring.
If you were a Bandit fan and walked into the team store, whose jersey would you buy? Kyle?
Oh, that's a good question. I kind of want to go off the beaten path a little bit. I don't know. That's a really good question. Everyone buys Dane's jersey. I can't say him. I think maybe I'll buy. You know what? Maybe I'm go with Mickey this year because I think I know you're on the call here, but I might say it anyway. But he was all over the floor, right? When we needed guys up on offense, he was playing offense. He played defense, played transition. Great job on loose balls. Mickey was an all-around force for us this year, so I'm going to go with number 4.
I'm going to go with Justin Martin. You know, he never gets enough praise for what he does on the floor. But, you know, this year he's as you can imagine, super quiet guy. But this year he kind of also started to step out of his shell and definitely, you know, made his mark in the dressing room this year. So definitely a big Justin Martin fan.
Cloutier stole mine. Marty's my roommate on the road, so I wanted to go Marty, but I'll go with our good buddy Soaksy. I'll go with Shanahan. I think just like, you know, we only carry 2 goalies this year, and usually teams carry 3. And, you know, Marty, what you were talking to earlier with Vino and getting your confidence up and stuff like that. I mean, Shanny saw more shots than probably anyone this year, and I think was, you know, our unsung hero. And you know, usually when a third goalie's staying late after practice taking the extra shots, he was the backup taking them. So I'll rock a Shanahan jersey any day.
Okay, well, a little this or that for you guys. And I'm sure you like both uniforms and all the extra jerseys you have, but if you had to pick one to be pictured in with the trophy, the orange or the white or an alternate, like which jersey do you prefer? Which jersey do you feel like is the best jersey you guys have?
I'll say the Darks. I think I love the white jerseys. I think they're fresh, they're clean. I think it's a nice look on the road, you know, pretty sharp, but I think the Darks are just traditional. You know, back to the teams that were winning more championships. I just blends with the floor, blends with the orange in the stands. I think the Darks.
Black is slimming as well.
Yeah, I'd go Darks as well. I think you just look back to the teams in the 90s, very similar vibe to those guys. So, but if I had to go off the beaten path a bit, I think the jerseys with the eyes on them, those things are pretty cool too.
Yeah, I mean, we're really lucky to have had so many great representations of the Bandits through jerseys over the years. I got to say this, guys. I've been going to lacrosse games for probably approaching 5 decades. I've been dragging my kids to games for a long time, and it's only been in the last couple of years because of you guys that they have instinctively on their own wanted to go, bring their friends, and just revel in the moment. So thank you for bringing it, and really hope you guys get to just have an incredible celebration on Thursday night. Isn't it great how players can get so excited talking about championship moments, individual moments that led to the championship, but so many athletes are just so humble, so down to earth, and just, it's never comfortable talking about yourself, even in the championship moments. And man, I feel that and always have felt that with lacrosse players, and specifically like what we've come to experience in Bandit land. It's always team first with these guys, and that's what makes this moment all the more just worth it for everybody, right?
Very special. But what's funny is that you get the guys to open up about post-game celebration and, you know, celebrating for a week and the parties on the golf course and everything. And then you're like, what about the game? And it's very serious because the game is serious. What about like the message after game 2 to game 3 and the leading up to game 3? And it's very serious. And then you say, okay, like who could drink more? Who partied longer? And then it becomes a crazy moment again, because that's what's fun about. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, a professional championship, a college rank championship, a high school championship, a youth sport championship. Like, you always remember those moments and the aftermath of it. I still remember when I was 12 and we won a tournament, not a league championship, a tournament. And then how we went to the diner after, and we like, you know, got a little crazy at the diner, but we were celebrating, right? So, so you remember those things, and it's fun.
And you never forget the losses, right? Yeah. I mean, this has been an incredibly, unexpectedly long journey for this franchise to get to a 5th championship. It actually took a while to get from 3 to 4, but the 4th to the 5th has felt like forever, simply because they've been there. Yeah. And you've had Dane Smith knocking on the door, and Marty, I was incredibly fortunate to be in Saskatchewan when they were there in 2016. They had lost game 1 at home, and we're trying to extend the series with a win there, and they lost in the last seconds. And I remember interviewing Billy D. Smith, and, you know, the rawness and how much hurt was there. And then you've been watching Dane following Billy D's footsteps and trying to, you know, bring that family pride to the game. And they had such a beautiful moment on the floor together after the Bandits finally did win this year. But Dane has always kind of worn those painful words and feelings that Billy D shared with us back then. And that's, I mean, we're talking 7 years ago. And yet it seems like they've been knocking on the door almost every year since. What a relief this must be.
Yeah, and it's been a tough 3-4 years with the pandemic and everything that slowed down the National Lacrosse League and, you know, the resources. And then last year they get to the championship just to lose to Colorado. And then they kind of just plowed through the season. I felt like this season, it was great from start to finish. And through the playoffs, they really...
But narrow victories, right?
Narrow victories. But yeah, but maybe that's what they learned from last year. But then they get to the finals just to play the Colorado Mammoth again. And you're thinking, like this matchup may not be the best matchup for the Bandits, right? But they win game 1, they lose game 2. As I think the guy said, like they laid an egg in game 2 and then they recovered. Like I love a team that pulls themselves back up when they fall. And they fell many times over the last few years, and they pulled themselves back up to the ultimate prize.
And you remember what we got to experience this year? We actually did a West Coast Sabres game night experience, hosting pregame and intermissions from the arena as the Bandits game, which went to overtime, and Dane got the winner against Philadelphia. As it was, we were in Bandit land doing a Sabres broadcast. It was absolutely crazy. And I felt that with people in and around the arena going into that final game and coming out of the championship win, was people were just wrapped up in this, but not singularly. It was a Buffalo thing. And it was like, oh my gosh, I hope this is the first car in the train, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get the ball rolling right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Get the ball rolling. But I do remember that game you're talking about when we were on the pregame at about 9:30 and the Bandits game's about to wrap up and they go to overtime. And I was into an analyst point when they scored. I didn't know who scored because the field is behind us and the horn, everybody, but the buzz of the people celebrating and leaving KeyBank Center. Like, that's what I remember. Like, wow, like Bandit Land is special, but this year there's something extra special because fans were really into it, which was really fun to see.
You know what I've never seen? The ballpark decked out in orange.
Oh,
I am hopeful that we have such a fun Bandit themed crowd going from the plaza Thursday night up to the ballpark. I want to know what Salem Field looks like when everybody's decked out in orange, because that's still, to me, is one of the great eye openers in your experience in Bandit Land. We're so accustomed to seeing Sabre colors, But when you come in and you get 19,000 to buy into this color, it's overwhelming. It's inspiring. It's awesome.
Now, I know you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I remember playing for the Flyers, and when the fans put on their orange T-shirts and shirts and whatever in Philadelphia, there was orange is an intimidating color. It's a dominating color. It's an eye-catching color, right? And Bandit Land in orange at KeyBank Center is eye-catching. Now, when they go to Salem Field and take over there, I think it's going to be very eye-catching. It's going to be fun.
High fives. They got them all now. They got one for every finger, the old one for the thumb rule, which now applies. And Marty, thank you. Thanks to all the Bandits who joined us today, and to Bandit Land for just creating this incredibly memorable atmosphere. We'll see you at the ballpark and the plaza on Thursday night.